Good evening and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Here we have on Eerie. How are you?
Fine. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for making this interview. We're doing a phone interview, which is kind of new for me. But this is pretty awesome. You've been in a couple bands that have been, really influential early in my life, and I'll talk about them. And you've also past a couple years released one huge book of photos, and then I don't know if you've done the other book yet. I couldn't find any information on that. Maybe you could fill me on that later on in the interview.
Okay.
What the status of that is, okay?
Yeah.
But for people that don't know you, and hopefully this be new audience, I'm a huge Danzig fan, and as Samhain and Misfits, like all the others. I know you started out as a photographer doing stuff with Misfits. That's how you got hooked up with Glenn, and you guys moved into Samhain. So, I guess the first thing I want to start with Samhain and the beginnings of Samhain. Where I know you switched to bass, and you didn't play bass. Did you take any other lessons once you started doing lessons? Like once you started playing with him? At that point,
no. Nobody I know takes lessons. No, you just learn as you go.
I've learned that myself lately. That nobody I've ever talked to actually take lessons. If you're a professional musician, right, you haven't taken lessons, and mostly you can't read music, or you can just read tabs. And usually
right,
they have other people that they tell them and they make the sounds to, and they'll write down the music for them. Yeah, so that's
the way it's always been. Yeah, all the guys, there's plenty of people that couldn't read music but sold lots of records. They would send us the recording to somebody, and then they'd write it down on the sheet.
Oh yeah, I could name an army right now of platinum artists that don't even, that people wouldn't believe, that have I don't have a lick of, musical knowledge that way. It's which probably keeps it a little more real and keeps you not concerned about breaking the rules with music because you're just doing what you're doing. You're not thinking about.
Yeah, there are no rules. There are no rules.
So obviously, then that would mean I see you play guitar now and everything else. So you're self-taught. Once you started on the bass, you just kind of figured your way out, and then from there you taught yourself guitar. That worked out for you?
Whatever it had to be done. Glenn was like, I want you to play drums in the band, and I was just like, okay. And after a couple of rehearsals, I was just like, yeah, I'm not cutting it on this, And he goes, why don't you play bass? And I was just like, okay, So I went down and bought a bass, and he said, this song's, this is what key it's in. I was like, okay. He goes, and he pointed to the neck, and he said, that's A. He's just like, yeah, go with this, that's this, that's this. That's just the way you learn. You learn by sight at first, and it's, it had, you do what you got to do to make it work,
And you did a fantastic job. I mean, I love Samhain. You guys are great. And when Danzig came out, the difference between the two bands, though, was night and day. I know there's similar songs carried over and stuff, but it really feels like it was a whole new thing. Whereas Samhain actually felt a little bit like the Misfits carried over, you know what I'm saying? Danzig was just a whole new sound.
Yeah, well, we had new guys, especially bringing in the metal guy, John. That's one of the reasons. Plus, we had like a real producer, like somebody who knew how to make records sound good. We had like Grammy award-winning engineers. Before that, it was all like, you'd have the engineer mix the record or whatever. There was no producers. We didn't know how to make good records. We were just making records, So, of course, he knew I wasn't. I was into the same stuff. I wanted the same things. I wanted to, be in the best band in the world, and we wanted to like take over the planet and stuff. And he knew that I was going to like help him get there. So, that's why I stayed with him for Danzig, because he knew that I was the right guy for the job. You
did the Less Than Zero soundtrack around the same time?
Before we recorded any of the Danzig stuff, we all went to the studio because Rick was working. He was the musical director on this Less Than Zero movie, and he was recording with a bunch of people, and he wanted a song from us, but he didn't want it to be a Danzig, the first Danzig song. It was just we were all in the same room at the same time. And I played on the first couple of passes, and I had a headache, and I didn't really care. And they wanted me to play with my fingers, and I didn't play with my fingers back then. And I was just like, nah, I don't want to do it. So I gave the bass to Rick's assistant, George, and he played the track, I think, that's on the record. But Chuck and John and Glenn all played on the thing. I think Glenn played the keys, and Chuck played drums, and John played acoustic guitar.
Okay. So Rick actually assembled everyone? That's something I actually wasn't aware of, that he didn't have nothing to do with it. He had Chuck's phone number somehow. We held auditions. We auditioned like 30 guys for guitar, and we picked the one we wanted. And Chuck didn't audition because he was Chuck Biscuits, and he didn't need to. We knew how great he was and what we were getting, and he just agreed. So yeah, Rick had nothing to do with it. What was John doing before Danzig? You guys found him because
he went to college. He was playing in like bar bands and stuff. He didn't, as far as I know, he didn't have like I don't know if he was doing anything more than cover songs and things like that, playing locally. I don't know if he'd recorded or anything. He was pretty much like a bar band guy that was really good, and we was like, yeah, he's the one we want,
It's amazing the chemistry you guys had, though. I mean, at least from the outside, it looked like you guys had all four of you guys had it right at the gate. The album sounded. Yeah,
we played well. We played well together, like almost immediately. Like the first couple of rehearsals. After 2 or 3 rehearsals, it was just like, yeah, this is going to be easy, and I was happy because these guys could just play anything you wanted, and it was great, and the songs were sounding so awesome, and I was like, this is going to be so easy. And it was a pleasure playing with them all those years.
And the carryover sound, obviously, to most people that heard it, I was like, I grew up on the Beatles, but also on Elvis. I was a huge Elvis fan. So when I heard, this, I was like, oh my God, it feels like evil Elvis. It feels like it's just dark rockabilly, with like a touch of Sabbath in there. But to me, it was a sound I'd never heard before.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Basically, Glenn and I are both, like, he's 10 years older than me, so he liked the 60s stuff, and I was definitely into the 60s and 70s shit, and we were both Elvis fans, and he liked Black Sabbath, Chuck liked Black Sabbath. I didn't even really know much about Sabbath because I was a punk rock guy, but John liked Sabbath, and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and all that metal crap, so yeah, it was to me, it pretty much sounded like, evil Elvis and Black Sabbath.
You know why I say Black Sabbath? Because one of the best things about early Black Sabbath, Bill Ward was a jazz drummer. So Chuck was not a rock and roll drummer. He had his own swing that, totally made you guys sound different than everybody else, too, just like Sabbath did.
Yeah, Chuck can play anything. You say, oh, we need this kind of beat, or, we got this song, give us a John Bonham beat, and he would play, something he thought would go, and we go like, yeah, that's perfect, or whatever. Or he does a little jazz on the 4th record, in Sun in the Morning Star. He does a little jazzy kind of, beat, and where fills and stuff. So you could ask him to do anything, and he could do it, so it wasn't a problem.
Yeah, over the years, as you guys changed, your songs started getting deeper, maybe a little more. I wouldn't say not the other one complex, but you guys, the layer, the growth each album you guys had was insane. It wasn't like you weren't copying each album. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, because you were in a time zone of like rock and alternative and Seattle music, and you guys sounded nothing like anything else. And you could have kept the same Danzig sound from the first album, and you just had no competition, but you guys didn't. You guys kept changing.
Yeah, well, that had to do with Ruben, too, and the engineers and what kind of songs were coming out. You try not to make the same record every time, So the first record the songs were great, but I didn't like the mix, and it was too dry and stuff, and people like it like that. But Lucifuge is where we started to sound more like us, put a little reverb on this and that and the other thing, and it, and not keep Glenn so up front, and the band so dry, and it just, the sound just kept evolving until we got to like the third one, and then that's the way we really sounded,
Yeah. I'll say the fourth one sounded good, and to me, the original version of those four albums are my favorites. And I actually like Glenn did the last two, the Death one he did, and Crown one. Those are a little more back to what it was. I know for a while he was doing some other stuff with the band, and to me, my favorite thing is his voice with with the instrumentation that you guys would do. So I think that was a challenge with like producing his voice, because I still don't think his voice is produced right in the last couple albums anymore. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, that's because he doesn't have a producer. He's doing it himself, and the reason it sounds like that is because his ears are shot. They were shot back in the Misfit days, he told me. And if you don't have a producer telling you what to do, or maybe you should try it like this, you try it like that, then it's just going to come out the way it comes out, because you either don't want to do it again, or you just think it's good enough and you got nobody else's opinion. So that's why the record sounds so different,
Right. I mean, when I first started, I was thinking, oh, maybe it's going back to the original sound of the original band. But then the Elvis one came out, and I was like, oh, that's not, something's missing, because his voice he still has the voice, but it's just those albums are just missing what the first ones had, the production, and it's a huge mistake for him to do that.
Yeah, well, those are just the records he's making now. That's just the way it is. You got to take them at each one as they come. I mean, unless you want to just keep making the same record year after year or every 2 years or whatever, you have to keep changing and hope the people like what you're doing and keep some of your audience. But yeah, it's great. It's easy to look back and say, oh, why don't you just do records like you used to do? It's like, but that's not what you do when you're a musician. You just keep changing.
Oh no, yeah. I'm sorry. What I meant was like the production of his voice. I've been waiting for the Elvis album. I like when he does the covers albums. I'm fine with the songs and the music. It's just the production of what his voice and how it's put in there. I just feel it could have been emphasized better. It's more of that. It's not actually the music he's doing. Yeah,
well, I don't think there was any. I think he was the only producer, so you have to ask him on that one. Like you can't say, so you don't like the production, but he's the producer, so there's nothing you can say about it. You know what I mean?
Well, if it's his vision, it's his vision, and he's still an awesome singer, songwriter.
He's happy with the records. That's all that counts.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm a big supporter of bands doing whatever they want. So after the fourth album, you and John and Chuck all went your separate ways. I believe it was like royalty, just all different things. You guys kind of just all went your separate ways. At that point, though, what did you do after that? After you left the band, you kind of went on your own. Is that when you started doing albums?
Yeah, I think I did a record like a year later. I moved back to Jersey because I couldn't afford to live in California. So I wanted to make a record, so I started making records, and I made one like a year or two after, and I put out like 5 of them. I'm working on a 6th one right now, so
I've heard of it. I was trying to get an idea of myself, like if you had a pattern, if you just putting out whatever you write, aren't you? You just whatever you feel for your songs at the time, because some of them were kind of like punkier, then you got like kind of like a evil country music. You really have a lot of different types of genres you're covering in your solo stuff now.
Yeah, it's just however what my life is like and how I'm feeling and where my head is at the time, and that's what the music comes out and reflects that period of time that I was in at the time that I recorded it. So I just do that. I don't usually go, well, I want to make this record, I want to make that record. But if I have a bunch of punk rock songs, I'll be like, well, I'll put those on a record, which is what I did. And then I had all these songs that sounded kind of country, and I was just like, well, they're not really country. Country people wouldn't say they were country.
No,
metal would go, it's country. So I said, oh, it's kind of country. So I put that out, So, and this record is going to be, different from that one, But it's going to still be, I've been in Nashville for the last 10 years, so it's going to be still kind of country. That's what the producer said. Why don't we just call this kind of country too? But it's not because it's really you can't, having lived down there and seeing how people are and the way they look at music, they would go, oh, this ain't country, but people who like blues and metal and stuff, they say, oh, that's too country, so you can't. I don't even worry about it.
Well, it's funny because I think once the term, once like Shania Twain and Def Leppard were sharing a producer, country became more top 40 sounding, and that's kind of the country that most people look up to now. I'm more the outlaw. Yeah, I'm more the outlaw country. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where it was Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson.
Yeah, I can't stand what's on the radio. It's terrible.
Yeah, I don't know any of those guys. And the closest new artist I'll do will be like the Allman Brothers kids, Dwayne, Betts, and those guys, would be the closest I'll go to newer music as far as country southern rockish. You know what I'm saying? Because they got something going on.
Yeah, they were playing the Allman Betts band for a while.
Yeah.
Now they're all doing solo records, and then they'll probably come back to that. But yeah, still that stuff. There's no radio. There's no radio for that kind of music. That's the problem. No. Like they can't play them on classic rock, and there's no format that plays modern rock or modern, country or southern rock, whatever. Yeah, I mean, somebody like Tom Petty is a classic rock artist, but he puts out a new record, and there's no radio for it to go on, and they won't play it on classic rock because it's not an old record. It's horrible.
And I think, but it's weird. It's what if he was live, I wouldn't even know what he'd be able to put him on at this point. But he's been labeled now. I think they call it that Americana now. Singer-songwriter Americana. It seems like it's the newest way of lumping in artists. But it seems like more of the cooler artists are labeled as Americana. So I feel okay with that title right now.
That's kind of nice. But I think I like roots rock or roots music. I like that better because it covers like everybody basically, like indie underground people that are making real country music, even if they don't call it that. And there's a lot of it out there, and there's a market, and people should really listen to some of this great, just like singer-songwriter stuff, like it used to happen in the 70s. People with just a guitar, people doing weird stuff, but they were all brought up on Hank Williams and Johnny Cash and the Sex Pistols, So there's great shit out there. There's just nowhere for it to be played,
Even Hank 3, he's into everything. Very similar, actually. He does a lot of different style of music, like you do, actually, where he's does kind of tone everything, Yeah, he does when he used to play. I don't know. I haven't heard nothing from him in years, but he used to do like a 3-hour show where he'd do like an hour country, an hour punk rock, and an hour of metal, and he would just change like maybe a drummer or a bass player or something, and that would be awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing,
That is so crazy. And I love the fact that, he'd be like playing in Superjoint Ritual, and next thing you know, covering some of his dad's songs. It's so cool. There were no rules like that, And that was actually when I was going back listening to, I hadn't heard your kind of country album. So when I heard that, that's what I was kind of thinking. I'm like, oh, I get it. It's not country.
Well, yeah, it's kind of country, yeah. It ain't really,
You're right. I guess on iTunes you're just lucky they have your picture on your own music, because sometimes you don't get the right labeling for your band. So
Yeah, exactly.
You got your name.
I already told you what it sounds like.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. Yeah, because it doesn't seem like you have a thing. So one of the other things you have, and you did, you gave a book. I've yet to get my hands on see the whole thing. Of pictures you've taken from the very beginning with the Misfits up until what was the line to 91 or so? I don't know. You want to expand on that?
No, I took pictures all the way up through Danzig, so it went to like 94. The book goes to like 95, and then a couple of pictures after that. But Yeah, all the way in until I left the band. So.
And you had talked about doing a documentary, and I only saw parts of the trying to get it and a second book.
Yeah,
happen or?
Yeah, the book's almost done, so I'm still trying to get. I got to start actually, putting it together, because all this time has been spent on restoration and finding stuff that I didn't have negs from, some old shit, and just basically working on the photos. And it's just been taking too long, but there's been a lot, bullshit gets in the way, So yeah, I got another book coming out, and it's only like 9 by 12. So it's not one of those big uncomfortable coffee table books that you look at once and never look at again. This one has a nice storyline running through it, and the pictures are great. Everybody loves it. So the next one's going to be a little different, but the pictures are amazing so far. The stuff that I've found.
What is the timeline for this one? Is it same thing, similar?
Yeah, it's going to be like almost a companion to the last one, like 250 pages, 200 pages, and the same size. And it's going to be like that, but it's just going to be a little bit different, and a lot of pictures, like I would say 80-90% pictures no one's ever seen, so it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, you actually had you were in the band, and you were there for three game-changing bands.
Yeah,
you had the Window View.
Right.
So
that's why I put the book out, because I was taking all these pictures, and I know people want to see them, and I wanted to tell the story, like how it all began, and there you go. So it's there forever.
And you were shooting video too, right? Like, so that was kind of odd at the time, because now everyone has their phones now and stuff, but you were taking photos and doing video from the very beginning to all this.
No, I was only doing video for the Danzig stuff. I didn't have a camera till like 88. I mean, so I've took the video camera on the road. I've got like all the acoustic shows. I got I got recording sessions, rehearsals, on the bus, backstage, festivals. I got all that shit.
Hey, man, you got to get that out there somehow. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, except, nobody wanted to deal with Glenn about, like, trying to get the music and stuff, because you have to license music. And he wants complete control and keep saying, I'm going to put out a documentary or whatever. But so I'm not bothered with it. I don't care. I can put stuff on YouTube so people can have it. And I do that once in a while. I'll just throw out a couple of things. But other than that, I don't care if it ever comes out. It's like my home movies. You don't get to see them if I don't want you.
All right. I can understand that. I'm just saying, as a fan, that sounds pretty awesome. If I saw that on YouTube, I'd be glued to the screen. You're like, it was awesome,
Oh yeah, I put up a couple things on YouTube like in the past, and as soon as they go up, Glenn has somebody take them down. So you can't really do anything about it.
That's kind of a bummer. How about with all the reunions? Is there going to be any chance that the four of you guys will get back together? Something?
No.
Or do you think it's too crazy?
Glenn wanted to do the Misfit thing, and I think he was just tying up loose ends so everybody can stop bugging him about it. And, and then it was successful. So they'll probably do that. He'll probably do a couple shows a year, just fly to the gig, do an hour and a half and go home, So that'll probably last a little bit longer. But other than that, Glenn's getting too old to do any of this stuff. He said he doesn't want to tour, like John's in good shape. I don't know if me and Chuck could do it, so it's really not an option.
Yeah, and Chuck, I don't know where Chuck is anymore. I know he's such a mystery. At one point, I know someone thought he passed away, and no one could confirm it because they didn't know where he was.
That was just a rumor like 10 years ago.
Right. I'm just laughing because, it was a point like no one knew where he went, is what I'm saying. He was done. I know he just wants to do his art, and that was it. He kind of moved on.
Yeah, so he just got tired of the bullshit and just decided to, do something else. He probably doesn't even have a drum kit in his house.
It's really crazy. So you're a painter, and actually he was an artist too.
Oh yeah, Chuck's he's like a cartoonist. He does these great cartoon characters, and he sees the world from a different angle than everybody else. So his characters are real weird and funny, and yeah, he's been doing that his whole life. He's great.
What about you? You're painting. You've been doing quite a bit of them yourself.
Yeah, I've been painting full time for like 20 years, 21 years, maybe more. And yeah, I sold like everything I've ever done, and I paint every day. So yeah, I've got lots. I'm putting out a book of the paintings too sometime.
I've seen some of them, and they're very, very cool looking. Well, I guess what I'm saying is, like, so early on, were you painting from the very beginning, or is it something you discovered later on in life?
No, I started painting and drawing when I was like 5. So okay. I just did it intermittently over the years. I always drew stuff, and then I had to do layouts or T-shirts or whatever. And then I didn't start like painting full time till like 99. And then I decided this is what I want to do every day. And then people started, being interested, and I started selling them. And I was like, oh, I can pay the bills with this stuff. So that's what I've been doing.
Well, that's pretty awesome. It allows you to be creative. I mean, so clearly, from the onset, you're just a full multimedia guy from the very beginning, especially with that punk do-it-yourself attitude. Your own pictures, later on video, music, painting.
Yeah.
Everything.
That's the way it goes. I like to, do some, always got to have a creative outlet, So you play guitar, you write songs, you record. And then you go on something else. Glenn's doing the same thing. If you look at what his career has been like, now he wants to move into more just doing films, but it's also a creative thing. Like, he's not going to stop writing songs. He'll still write songs because that's what he does. So he'll just, like, a couple of years from now, he'll probably go, I feel like putting out a record, maybe going out and doing a couple of shows. But other than that, I think he's going to get really into the movies where he can just, do it at his own pace, put out the movies when he wants to. Nobody's saying, hey, when are you going to do a new record, So I could see him doing that, and it'll still be creative because he'll probably do the music for the soundtrack,
Yep.
And
that Cowboy Spaghetti Western vampire one coming out. I saw clips from it, so I know that was one of his things he was working on forever. And his comics, and well, it's interesting because also the industry for music though also went out the window between streaming and making money and touring, and then of course with COVID, a lot of artists, had to find different ways to continue working and revenue to sustain, because you can't live off of streaming, and also you can't live that same lifestyle forever as you get older. You need to, there's no 401k in rock.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah, so that's why
there's no
here.
There's no old folks home. There's no pension. There's no Social Security. No insurance for musicians. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And actually, I started the show during COVID because I wanted people to be aware of the artists and go to their websites and buy the merch. Keep the artists afloat during this time. Because of that. I mean, and people need to buy the merch or whatever your favorite artist is doing. Go to your stuff. Go. You need to buy your books. You need to check out, buy your paintings if they like them. You got to keep supporting the art.
People can just go, Jesus, what happened to so and so, or how come so and so doesn't do this or whatever. Yeah, do a little research. They're still putting out records. They're still going on tour. You're just not paying attention.
Well, yeah, Europe is a lot more forgiving. There's a lot of bands I listen to, and the one-hit wonders. I'm like, one hit you knew. They've done 5 really good albums in the past 10 years that you haven't heard, and that's a shame that people don't usually catch that. Though they usually stop. I think it's because they find the band at their peak of their what you think like the late teens, or somewhere in their teens and up to their early mid-20s. Those are the prime years that people remember their music, and then after that, nothing else counts for them. I think,
people give up on music as they get older. Music becomes less important to some people because they have other obligations and family life and, you know, this, that, and the other thing. But, like, listening to music is a luxury. So people, you know, they don't have the time to sit there and do it. And some people, you know, music is like their whole life, so it's still important to them. Those are the ones that are still going to the shows, you know.
Oh yeah, I'm like, I can't believe I never stopped. And even with my bands that I like, when they do an album that I don't like, the fact that they do something different, I'm glad. You know what I mean? I don't want them doing something I don't want to do or trying to be, you know. I want to see the artists keep creating. I want to see them succeed and go to their shows, you know. How about you? Are you going to be doing more shows? Like, I know sometimes you don't really feel like you need to play it a lot now, but as you do the album, are you going to do a couple shows?
Yeah, if something comes up or I feel like it, if I can get like a band together for, you know, certain one-offs here and there, but I don't really care about going on the road, you know. I did all that. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know, I'm getting older now. My back is, you know, still fucked up for 30 years. So, like, yeah, I don't really miss touring, and I don't really have the need to go up in front of people so they can all say, "Oh, I loved it. It was great," you know.
Right. No, I didn't mean a tour. I just meant like a couple gigs nearby to play out.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And I just said that I'd probably do that. If I feel like it, if the opportunity comes up and the situation is going to be fun and no pressure or nothing, yeah, I'll probably do some shows here and there, you know.
What can people do if they want to see your art and buy the art? Where can they go? Can they commission you? Where can I direct them to?
Yeah, I'm just on Facebook, but you know, I'm there. Like, if you send me a message, I'll get it. And tell them to just email me at EerieVaughn777 @gmail. I answer all my mail. You write me, I'll write you back.
I was actually surprised that the three of you guys, you and Chuck and John, didn't get together and do something at that time. It kind of felt like you guys were, you know, it was more of a mutual thing on that way, because you guys still had such a great talent. Like, you know, we got a power trio or something. It would have been kind of a cool thing. Obviously, time is showing that it was not going to happen. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we talked about it, and we were trying to see if there was any interest, and we were going to do something, or we just get another singer or whatever. I don't know. But Chuck took a job with Social Distortion, and that took a year. And then after that, you know, it was I don't know what the hell John was going through, but he was doing his own thing, and then he put out a record. And I was just living my life, so we didn't really care after that. Plus, there was, unless we really, really wanted to do it, there was no reason to do it, because we wouldn't have made any money anyway. So it would have had to be we really wanted to, like, we really had something to say or whatever, and we didn't. We didn't have to prove anything. We're the ones who did the records. We didn't have to prove we could still do it, you know.
Well, that was the thing. You guys had such a great chemistry, and regardless of whatever happened with Glenn and royalties or whatever, and whatever else happened, the three of you guys together, though, were more on the same page, and it would have been interesting. I'm just saying, because what you guys would have done without him on your own, with you guys, like two of you guys singing and stuff, it would have been just interesting to hear that. You know, at that time, obviously, worlds have changed and stuff. The Sound of Danzig changed right after you guys left, and it became a different band. You know.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, we could have done something. I'm open to the idea of doing something with Chuck and John, or just Chuck. You know, I mean, I asked John over the years a few times if he wanted to do a band, or he wanted to make a record or whatever, but I don't think he was in the right place to do anything. I think he's looking to get out a little bit more now. He kind of pops out and then goes away for a couple of years. I don't know. So yeah, that would be fun. I think I could easily do a band with both of those guys, because it, you know, and we would just have to say, this is the way it's going to be. You know, everybody can do what they want or whatever, but it's got to be up front. You know, it's like, well, this is the kind of music we want to do. And Chuck would be like, no, that sucks. I don't want to do that. So, you know.
That'd be pretty funny. Well, yeah, it's more like just being an artist and you guys expressing yourself, which would be a kind of cool thing to hear. You know, you guys doing it for fun, and obviously it'd be nice if you guys get a little money. You know, that's why I'm surprised that there wasn't. You know, I don't know. I think if you did Misfits, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point Glenn wanted, if there's money there, to do a couple original Danzig shows. I don't know, man. I think it'd be a good moneymaker. You know, put all four of you guys back together again for some shows.
Yeah, I doubt.
See, why not?
No, why would you do it when you're already making a bunch of money doing the Misfit thing? You know, like, you know, if that wasn't there, yeah, he might consider it, but he doesn't need the money. You know, like he doesn't care about money. You know, he's got plenty of money.
That's the thing. I don't think the Misfits was about money totally either. I think Misfits was about legacy, and I think now as he gets older, he looks back. You know, Danzig this, but a lot of people haven't seen it. You know. No one's, a lot of people haven't seen Danzig, you know, and that's a legendary band now. Just like some people in the Misfits, it's the same thing now. You know, it's become its own.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's been, you know, people are happy with the band that he's had since, you know, and the guys that come and go. I hear nothing but good things about it. So nobody really gives a shit, you know. It's just like going to see Elvis, you know. It's like they want to see Glenn, and who cares who's playing with him, you know.
Maybe, I guess. I was going to start naming some of Elvis's players and be like, I care about Scotty, and there's probably less of them that could know all the players of the band, right? Red and everyone else, than like you and me and a couple of people that would know the band members for Elvis. You know, it would just be a cool thing. I'm saying when he did Misfits, I didn't think he was ever going to do the Misfits. I figured he was more against it because there's more headbanging with other band members of the Misfits and struggles over the years. And if he pushed through that with those guys, I figured Danzig would be a no-brainer for him. But you know him better than I do. So, but I want to say thank you for taking the time today and to talking to me and being on my show. This has been really, really awesome, man.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm glad we could do this, and I look forward to hearing some of your stuff. And when your stuff gets out, I will put it in my media and share your album, your books, whatever else you got there. So people who've been listening, you can reach out to them for commissions and anything else. To contact you, because you will get back to them. You know?
Okay. You know, yeah, just it's EerieVaughn777 at gmail.com, and I'm on Facebook. I got a fan page and a personal page. You can contact me there. When the book comes out, when the record comes out, of course I'll post about it. People who are interested and they want to find out, they find out. If anybody else finds out, that's just a bonus. So it'll be fine.
Well,
that's cool.
It'll be good. I'll hunt you down when the book comes out. We'll talk about it. I'll give you some press. And
all right.
Awesome. I mean, thank you for being on the show. It's awesome.
All right, man. Well, you take care. Cool.